very good when it comes to starting on time. Unlike the person that has this mic at 9
In the
o'clock in the
morning.
morning,
Or 9:15 or
9:15
9:20.
or 9:20. Just saying. JD, if you're listening. He's not. He doesn't watch the show.
Once in a while.
No, he doesn't watch the show.
Once in a while.
He's too good for it.
He's doing bedtime right now with Lily.
You go do bedtime.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody to the Barre Beat podcast, live from ASB Financial Studios and Fly in the Wall Productions. With us tonight, we have the lovely Raylene and Paul White doing our Barre Town update.
Good evening.
And of course, we also have the ever sweet Sarah. We missed you doing the little.
Why didn't you get any pronouns, Paul?
Are we handing out pronouns?
Well, he could have called you like handsome or something,
The ever studly.
No,
It doesn't sound right.
Let's not go there.
Good Lord.
Ooh. Someone's going crazy out there.
Yeah, somebody's a little upset, but that's okay. Lots of things happen behind this glass.
Nice. Yeah, so how's everybody doing?
Great.
Super.
Happy New Year.
Yes, this is the first podcast of the new year for Barre Beat. I know that Aired Out had one this morning.
This morning we did.
And, of course, Raylene was with us on the Festivus for the rest of us. Did any of you...
Which was fun.
No? Yeah, it was great. We got into a lot of trouble. It did not air on the Barre City Community fan page for a specific reason.
What do you mean we got in trouble? I thought we did I thought we were very good. Like, very mellow.
True. I got a little further than I probably should have, but that's okay.
Well, that's all right.
So I'm just going to let you go right into it there, Paul.
Right into it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I apologize. I blew you off 2 weeks ago.
I know. I see how that happens.
Yeah, I totally forgot that it was Barre Beat Monday. My kids were home and we were wrapped up in, I don't know, vicious game of categories or something.
Ooh.
I totally forgot.
Those can be terrible.
Anyhow, so I'll back up to from the last time I was here on December 13th. Mm-hmm. We had a resolution to honor retiring paramedic Louis Messier.
Yes.
Who was, I think he was our longest serving paramedic for Barre Town EMS. Louis is retiring. I think he's still going to be around, perhaps working some per diem part-time shifts, but he did retire from the full-time Barre Town EMS service. So we wished him well as he headed off. We had a public hearing to close out the Vermont Food Bank's Community Development Block Grant. A requirement of that grant process was that when the grant is completed, there has to be a public hearing held for the public to be able to give feedback on the whole granting process. And as kind of expected, nobody showed up. Nobody had any feedback. But the bottom line is that grant has been discharged. The food bank got their money. The town helped facilitate it. They put on their big addition, built that new freezer, and everything seems to be plugging away just fine up in the industrial park. What else did we do? We awarded a contract for a new columbarium. Do you know what a columbarium is?
I feel like it's a cemetery thing.
It is a cemetery thing.
It's
a big granite block with lots of little
holes
cabinets
for
people to put their cremated remains. Mm-hmm. So we've had two of them up there in the Wilson Cemetery already. They've sold enough. The plan was that once a certain number of slots had been sold, they would place the order for the third one so that it would be in place before we ever ran out.
Did you design? Because I know Giuliano Ceccanelli designed one of those for the city for Hope Cemetery quite a few years ago. It was beautiful.
I don't know about the design. So the original two were purchased and installed long before I was on the board. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, the original two created quite a bit of backlash. People felt that we shouldn't be, by putting in a columbarium and encouraging multiple slots in one unit, that we were discouraging people from having granite headstones, which takes away from the Barre granite industry. But they worked through that back in the day.
Well, you could transform your town forest into a huge cemetery.
Yeah, we could. But,
I mean,
but anyhow,
I'm just pointing out that there is a limited space for cemeteries. I mean,
right.
Yes.
The fact is that
more and more people are
born and they're dying.
pursuing cremation instead of conventional burial,
right?
And they don't require as much space. So yes, it is a more efficient use of space in the cemetery.
Yeah,
and the Barre granite industry right now is doing just fine. There wasn't any pushback at all to this third columbarium. So it was the part of the criteria was that it have to be 100% Barre granite, which it will be, and it was awarded. I should know the name of the company that we awarded it to, but I'm drawing a blank.
If somebody out there that's listening knows, feel free to drop it in the comments.
Second.
Got it.
Oh, he's got it.
It was Ventura and Girardi.
Nice.
So that will be, and they're saying that they actually think it may be completed before summer.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. That's quick.
that's quick.
Quick turnaround.
So in hindsight, perhaps we didn't need to order it quite as quickly as we did because we do still have space in the original two, but we're going to use some of the ARPA money. Some of that will be funded with ARPA money. So it seemed like a good time to get that order placed. And what else did we do? We approved the assessor's error and omissions list for 2022. That's always an exciting topic. See what mistakes were made throughout the year.
Were they mistakes or were they? Because we had.
I knew that was going to happen.
That's okay. That's okay.
I can give you. I won't mention names, but
no, I know
give
that
you some scenarios.
Some scenarios would be great.
So, for example, this person, they had the wrong acreage listed on their assessor's card. We had them down for having more acres than they actually owned. So once that adjustment was made, it made an adjustment to their taxes. Another one was for a company that had actually gone out of business and moved all their property out of town, so they should not have received a bill.
So who
this was
owns the property now?
That was not personal information. So it was Mobile Mini. Oh, you familiar with Mobile Mini? They come in with these little pods. They're like storage containers. They'll come in and drop it off at your house. You load it up, and then they take it away and store it for you. They had a facility up in the old Pike property up in Websterville. And Mobile Mini got bought out by a larger company who has a facility in Chittenden County. So they took all their equipment out of Barre, moved it to Chittenden County.
It's too bad.
Yeah. Here's another one where people had done a subdivision, and the subdivision paperwork just didn't get caught up in time before the tax bills went out back in July. So they're
legitimate errors and omissions. I know that in the past, we have had situations where, errors and omissions came in that were really abatement issues. Right. And we had to really cut that back. But
most of these were due to incorrect acreage. Here's another one where we had the person listed as 26 acres. They really only owned 14. So they were being taxed on the incorrect amount of land.
And that a significant more amount of land. So, yeah.
So anyhow, that was some years we have multiple errors and omissions lists. In 2022, we only had that one list of about 8 or 10 properties.
It happens.
And we applied for a Better Roads grant program which will pay for slip lining a culvert down on Snowbridge Road, South Barre. Okay. And we had to. So we talked before about the baseball field lights. You remember we replaced the softball field lights a few years ago. And in the process, we found out that the poles for the baseball field lights they didn't pass safety standards. They were too old. So we ended up having to cut them down for safety reasons. And we decided to order new poles. We wanted to get the lights back up so that they can continue to play baseball in the dark. And there's very few places in the country where you can buy 80-foot poles, believe it or not. So we found a company down in, I forget if it was Texas or Louisiana, down on the Gulf Coast. But they required 50% down. They wouldn't just do it on credit. So we had to cut them a check for half of the cost of those poles. Exciting stuff.
Very exciting. So, got a question for you already. If somebody wants to drop off their Christmas tree, where do you know where they would do that? Or have them pick it up?
If it's a Barre Town resident, you just leave it out by the road, and DPW comes around and picks them up over the next 3 weeks.
Oh, well,
there is a schedule. I think next week is for people that live north of Route 302, and the following week is for people that live south of
I
302.
actually saw the schedule. It was posted.
Yeah, it was on Front Porch Forum today, actually.
Yeah, and it was posted on one of your websites. It was posted as well as the stump dump, the hours for that as well.
But with that said, though, as when the guys are out driving around checking the roads, when they see Christmas trees on the side of the road, they'll just grab them while they're there. So there is a schedule. However, they also get picked up as they're noticed. And if the next 2 weeks go by and your tree hasn't been picked up, call the town office, and they will send somebody over to grab it.
Nice.
Now, if that doesn't work out, if you miss it or if you just don't want to leave it by the side of the road, I know that the Boy Scouts, Troop 1, are also doing a Christmas tree collection. They are doing it by donation. I don't know that you have to donate, but it's preferred that you donate, so that's one of their major fundraisers for the year.
Well, we've got
all kinds
very
tonight.
Interesting crowd tonight behind us.
An active Main Street this evening.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea about the budgeted? How much is budgeted annually for the Barre Town paving, roughly?
I'm sorry, for Barre Town what?
Paving?
Paving? Oh, boy. I'm afraid I don't. I can get that number if somebody wants to drop me a line, but I do not know it off the top of my head.
Okay.
We spend a lot of money on paving.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
We have fairly high standards when it comes to maintaining our paved roads, and so and of course with the cost of petroleum products being up, that drives the cost of asphalt, which drives the cost of paving.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot more money last summer on paving than we had budgeted.
Well, last time you were here, you said something about that you had a couple of new positions that you were finally able to fill. Can you tell us what those are yet? You weren't able to tell us last time.
I wish I was here in 2 days.
So not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Well,
so
let me
next time.
Let me talk about the 13th, and then we'll get. I'm sorry about the 20th. That was the 13th, and then we'll talk about tomorrow night. So on the 13th of December, we had a couple more resolutions. Chris Lamonda, who you may know, he's the director of our EMS department. Chris has resigned. Nothing scandalous. He's going back to teaching. He's decided, after he's been our EMS director for I don't remember how many years, but he has decided that he was teaching before he came to Barre Town EMS, and he's decided that really education is where his heart is at, not administration. So he's decided to resign his position as director, and he's going to go back to teaching. So he's was done at the end of the year on a full-time basis. He is still filling in until we will actually be announcing his replacement tomorrow night.
Oh. There we go.
So that's one of the positions. Another resolution 2 weeks ago. Craig Pelletier. Craig Pelletier's worked with the town and DPW for, again, I should know how many years, but I don't, a long time. And he's leaving us to be the new Director of Public Works for the town of Berlin.
Oh.
First ever for the town of Berlin. So
Wow.
he's we will miss him. He was a valuable asset to our Public Works department. He was acting supervisor on several occasions during some various illnesses or vacancies. He was our backup water operator, backup to your brother-in-law. So now we are needing to train a new backup water operator. But yeah, Craig's going on to be the Director of Public Works in Berlin, so we wished him well last meeting as well. We talked about EMS billing rates, which we did not come to resolution on. We'll be continuing that discussion tomorrow, updating the ambulance rates.
Is that never mind.
It's something we look at. It's something we look at every year to make sure that what we charge for ambulance transports is on par with other services.
For like okay. I was thinking of like communities.
No, those are done by contract, and
Okay.
I believe they're 3-year contracts, so they're not up right now. No, this is the so much per mile, so much per run. And
Who does your billing?
currently it's a company out of New Hampshire.
Oh yeah, that's right.
called-
We've already had this conversation. Never mind.
It's a company out of the Keene or Claremont, New Hampshire area.
Sorry.
We are looking at putting that out to bid to see if somebody could offer a different level of service.
Yep.
But we're
So
not ready to do
I
that yet.
apologize.
We will in the next couple of months be putting that out with an RFP, looking to see who's out there for competitive ambulance billing services. But yeah, we'll be continuing our discussion about ambulance rates tomorrow night. And a lot of those, unfortunately, are out of our control because Medicaid and Medicare rates are set by the federal government. We don't have any say in the matter. But for those that have private insurance, Blue Cross, Cigna, whatever, or private pay, we annually take a look at how much we charge for those.
And since winter is thinking about coming, if somebody needed some sand for their driveway, you guys offer free sand.
We do. If you go up to the DPW truck garage on Websterville Road, right near by the railroad tracks, by the town office, and there's always a pile of sand outside of the gate, so you don't even have to go in. We do ask you to limit it. We don't want you to come up with a front-end loader and take it all.
So I can bring my Jeep up there?
You can. If you lived in Barre Town, you could take your Jeep up there.
Right.
Take a couple of 5-gallon buckets or fill some sandbags or whatever you need to sand your
That's
driveway,
okay.
your sidewalk.
I know somebody that has a kind of car you got. I'm
let's
just
see.
kidding.
An
I
EV,
wouldn't do
one of those
that.
little EV smart cars.
Do you have an EV smart car?
No, I don't have
think
an
she's
EV
joking.
smart car, you
the
dumbass.
dumbest. Yes, I love those EVs.
I could see you getting into a smart car.
You can't see me getting out.
Oh my goodness. A little clown car with all the little fat clowns getting out. No,
I
that
wasn't
would
saying
not be
anything
good.
about. I wasn't using the F word.
And he didn't.
You're
Yeah, he
a
didn't say
big
anything
man.
about getting out.
That's true.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Once I got in that thing, I wouldn't be able to get out. There are cars that I just look at and I'm like, no. Like if somebody, my niece has I don't know what she has. She has a little car, and I'm like, we'll go in the Jeep.
Yeah.
I am not getting down into that car because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get out.
Yeah, I will never own a sedan again.
Yeah.
I want a crossover SUV every single time.
Yeah. No, not interested in that. Anyway.
Yeah, so let me wrap up the 20th. Well, we didn't meet last week, incidentally, the 27th, but back on the 20th, we took another look at the ARPA funds, where we're at with what's been obligated, what's been spent, what is still available. We heard another follow-up presentation from Turning Point, which I think the City Council did a few weeks ago as well, just to let us know where they stand with their plans for the new building on South Main Street. And, of course, they are asking for a portion of our ARPA funds to help with that. And the Graniteville Fire District. We had a presentation from the Graniteville Fire District that they would like the town to commit some of the ARPA funding to help them develop new water source. They have a hard time at times coming up with enough water to serve their customers. They recently, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not the Graniteville Fire District would just dissolve and be taken over by the town. They're the last remaining fire district. Barre Town used to have the Websterville, East Barre, Trow Hill. There were a bunch of different fire districts that one by one have all been taken over either by the town or by Barre City's water department. Graniteville's the one remaining fire district. But they decided at their last meeting that they're not ready to throw in the towel. They want to keep trudging along on their own. But they would like some help coming up with a new water source. So a couple more things we'll have to consider for ARPA funding. And then, of course, we adopted the 5-year building plan. Updated the 5-year building plan. So, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Drum
Is tomorrow
roll.
the budget?
Tomorrow we will be interviewing people who have volunteered to serve on the
Ooh.
budget committee.
So who do you know the names?
I
I know we got one viewer right now that's chomping at the bit.
Yes. So we have. Shoot, it's in an email, not in my packet. I can name the ones that I remember, but I'm sure I'll miss some. I know that we have a couple people who have applied who have never served before. Jamie Cushman and Kathy Smith. Also, I know Josh Howard and Phil Cicchini, who has served before.
Oh,
Mike
Phil.
Gilbar has served before. Chris Netto has served before.
Now, Phil Cicchini was the director for Central Vermont.
Capstone, wasn't it? Was he with
No,
Capstone?
he was the business Central Vermont.
Better Business Bureau.
No, it's not Better Business Bureau. It's Central Vermont something. Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, okay.
Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
that
it-
was a couple of years ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he was
he was-
active with the whole Granite City grocery thing that was trying to get off the ground a few
Yep.
years ago.
Yep.
He was involved in
Yep.
that. So yeah, Phil has served on the budget committee in the past. Who else did I name
His
them all?
daughter used to work at National Life, just in case you want to know.
Okay. Fun fact about Phil Cicchini.
Yes.
Daughter worked at National Life.
Yep. She was wonderful. I liked her.
So for those people that have raised their hands that have not served in the past, we will be interviewing some of them tomorrow night. We won't be making appointments until at least next week. We have our quarterly department head visits with the fire chief, the planning and zoning director, and the EMS director. And we will continue our discussion about ambulance billing rates. And then, following executive session, we do plan to make some announcements about who the new town manager is going to be to
Oh,
replace
you've already
Carl.
made the decision.
Well, it's until we take a
You
formal
can-
action tomorrow
Paul,
night.
It's okay. You
not
can
done.
tell them that I was selected.
Okay.
You can tell them I was
All
selected.
right, well, in fairness to you and the other candidates, I can't.
Right.
I can't say until tomorrow. night.
Waiting until tomorrow.
I should have
But we will be
submitted an
announcing-
application just for the fun of it.
Yeah, that would
that
have been fun.
that would have been funny.
So we'll be announcing the new town manager.
Oh,
we'll
my
be
goodness.
announcing the new EMS director. And
What if my application got to the board for you to review it to get a laugh, or would have been filtered out?
I can't say.
Because that would have been hilarious if it was forwarded to the board, and because there's you, there's Bob, there's Bolduc,
Justin Bolden,
yep, and
Norma.
Norma. Yeah, I know.
And Jack.
I know all these people. Yeah, so they would look at.
Yeah,
and
they
be
would have been like, "What the hell? What?"
They would have said, "What did we hire that recruiter from VLCT for?"
Yes. Okay, so it would not have gotten there.
Yeah.
Go on.
That's all I got. That's tomorrow night.
Right. So
All right.
now we have to wait until 2 weeks or next week. When are you going to come
To
back?
hear it here?
Yeah.
Well, it'll be announced tomorrow night. I'm sure it'll be in the Times Argus later this week.
Oh, yeah. There you go. So we'll all know sooner
all know.
than later. Yeah.
Anyway, did you guys do a community visit or no? Obviously not, because we would have known at least one or two
Yeah.
names.
I hesitate to say too much because I don't want
No,
to.
don't worry about it. We're
I
not
don't
going to go
want
any
to-
further.
For
And
the
rec
to
position?
protect the identity of not only the applicant that's going to get the job, but those
that
others.
did not.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that the
No, Paul,
the pool
don't.
the pool of applicants didn't have as many people with municipal management experience as we thought it would. And then we
That's
had
not surprising.
And then so we selected a certain number of people to interview. Some of them declined, even though they had applied. They then declined to interview. It was a weird process.
Yeah.
And it took longer than we had planned.
Yeah.
All
Interesting.
will be revealed tomorrow night.
Nice. So everybody will have to mark their calendars to watch. That's not a bad question. How many applications did you have?
We had just short of, complete. I mean, we had a bunch of applications. I don't know why people do this, but we had some incomplete applications. They would send a resume but no cover letter or vice versa. But we had roughly 30 applications. And they came. And
That's pretty good.
And they came from all over the country. I mean, they came. I remember one in particular from Henderson, Nevada. Person that had no municipal management experience, no experience with Vermont, just decided they wanted to change a life, and Vermont would be a cool place to live.
Well, I think.
So let's apply to be the town manager in Barre.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, Nicholas didn't have any municipal experience.
No, but he had
either.
management experience.
That's true. He
Right.
did have
Right.
management experience, but and he obviously wanted to make a change for,
Yeah.
from
His family, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
which
From
obviously
city
was a
life
good decision.
to country life.
Yes, country life.
Yeah, and we had a pretty good mix of local people and people from out of state, out of the Northeast even.
We didn't have too many local, but I think one of the people that was doing the process indicated that they didn't want us to do a local person, which I feel is a little inappropriate, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
One thing that was
You should want to keep it
interesting-
local.
You would think that, but she wanted somebody outside of our community.
Yeah, it's too bad that. It'd be nice to go into it with an open mind.
Yeah.
Yes, you might think, we need some fresh blood, but also you should go into it with an open mind that, hey, maybe somebody that is a known commodity might knock your socks off.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but I don't think we had many people that applied anyway.
And we ended
Although-
up on the upside of it.
Exactly.
I mean, Nicholas is
Absolutely.
amazing. We're lucky to have him.
And I know that a decade or two ago, we had somebody that applied that was local, had no municipal experience, and did a pretty good job. I can't remember his name. He ran a store down here. I can't remember. Somebody would be able to tell me. Tom would be able to tell me if I asked him. But yeah,
Interesting, though, we did have a couple of applicants who asked us, are you reposting this job? Because they had seen the city manager position advertised, and then wanted to know, well, what happened? How come that person didn't take the job? We thought we were reposting the city manager job, and we had to clarify, no, the city and the
Barre
town
Town.
are two different municipalities. We just happened to both be recruiting for a manager.
there's glitter in my mic. There's freaking glitter in
Michael
my
is
mic.
really struggling with
There
this
is
whole
there
glitter
is
thing,
glitter
Paul.
in my mic. I keep on seeing this bright light coming from my mic. It's glitter. There's
I have-
freaking glitter
I
in my
have
mic.
no comment
How is
that would
that
be appropriate.
possible? How is that possible?
No
How?
comment.
Let
No-
it go, Michael.
no
Let the
comment that would
glitter
be
go. Let it
If
go.
you ever want to really
Do you have glitter in your mic, Sarah?
freak
I do not,
Mike
but I
out,
would love
just
some.
go rub some on his
whatever.
door handle with a leaf or something.
Not the answer you wanted, huh?
Just drives me nuts. I can't stand this. I keep on seeing a shiny light in my mic, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And then I noticed it was glitter.
You have a
Well,
problem
you know.
with glitter?
I have a problem with glitter. It's the herpes of the craft world. And it's almost like somebody came in here and was like, oh, glitter. And like threw glitter everywhere. I'm like, come on. Come on.
Okay.
WTF.
Now I
This
know
is
how you feel about
entertaining.
glitter.
So angry about it. Yeah. Josh says the mic was donated by Planet Rock. You know what? I could see that happening.
You
What does
never
Planet Rock
know.
have
to
do
You
with
never
glitter?
know.
I don't know, probably spinning around the pole, throwing the glitter everywhere.
Oh my god.
Oh, man. Oh, it's so frustrating.
Relax. Relax.
I get my blood pressure's elevated. Anyway,
Oh,
so
goodness
So that's
gracious.
that's it. Rec department.
Rec department. Yes. What about the rec department?
Rec
so
director?
we have our new rec director started October, I think. Johnny Crossley. I think it was October when he started. He's been on board for a few months now, and he is working with the committee that we talked so much about, the Town Forest Management Plan Committee, which has now met, boy, how many times? Half a
Why
dozen
did
times?
you ask me, Josh, about the rec department?
Yeah, I don't know, but so yeah, we have separated recreation from cemeteries. We have a rec director who there was some discussion. It's a full-time position, and some people had asked, what's that person going to do in the wintertime? But right now he's got his hands full with this Town Forest Management Committee, and we'll also put him to work with updating some policies and
Any
ordinances.
word on ATVs in the town forest?
I went to the first meeting of that committee, but I have not been back.
I wouldn't say so.
So I don't know what they've discussed.
I've heard a lot of things that they've discussed, which was kind of interesting.
ATV is not one of them.
ATVs is not one of them, and
I'm sure that logging will be a topic of discussion. I've heard that disc golf is a topic of discussion.
Why is disc golf a topic of question? You know what? You can't.
I don't
That's
know.
okay. I'll just say for me,
It's not everybody's cup of tea, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't exist for those.
if it gets
who
one
do
person
protect,
outside
right.
to do some sort of activity outside to make them less likely to turn into someone like me, we should be promoting that, not demoting that. I'm just saying. And I don't like disc golf. I find it to be stupid and boring, and I'm sure people will get annoyed by that, but for me, I'm just not interested.
But a lot of people are.
Right.
I just
a lot
don't get it.
A lot of
I'm
people
amazed at how many people travel from all over the Northeast
Right.
to come play disc golf in our town forest.
Exactly. So that's a drawing factor.
Right.
Don't get rid of it. I mean, and it's like wicked low impact on the. I mean, right?
It's
'Cause
one small corner of the forest.
It's one
Right.
small. Well,
Yeah.
that and it's like low impact unless you consider walking through the forest high impact, which I
It's
guess
like any
yes,
golf.
it could be.
It's like regular golf,
Yeah,
walking the course.
I don't know.
But
I mean,
anyhow, that is, those are the kind of things that this committee will be taking up and coming back to us with a recommendation on for the next decade.
yeah.
I have a question for both of you.
Ooh.
That kind of came out in the news. We touched on it a little bit this morning. What are your thoughts about the new or the discussions in legislature right now in regards to supporting the schools, whether it be property or income tax?
I saw that in the news just a couple of nights ago.
I don't make a lot of money, so go for the income tax.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but it is an interesting discussion because we make a big deal out of this budget committee every year, but we really don't have a lot of control over what people's property tax bills look like because so much of it is for education, and that's set by the state.
So wait, I'm a little behind the 8 ball on this one. They're talking about changing how they tax
They wanna
for
change-
education.
They want to change education funding from being property tax based to being income tax based.
And what it does is it includes families that rent as opposed to
Only
Oh.
property owners. Right?
Well, with all due
and,
respect, they do pay. Okay, so I'm not actually one of those people that believes that renters don't pay taxes, property taxes. They do. They pay it through their rent.
Through their rent.
Yeah.
And a landlord would explain to them, hey, just so
This
you know,
portion-
this portion right here is impacted by the way you vote. So just so you know, when it goes up, this is what it goes up to.
Right.
They pay. It's not that they don't pay.
They don't pay directly, but
They don't pay
right.
directly, but they pay indirectly through the landlord. The landlord is not picking up those charges. It's just that's not how it works. No matter. I'm surprised that
that was what I was hoping to like. That's the part that we kind of need people to understand that this change isn't, if it happens, isn't going to change the way or what people think. It's not going to change who pays and who doesn't as far as that goes, but it very much could change who pays and who doesn't.
It's no different than, the cost of goods. It's more expensive to buy milk because farmers have to pay more for fertilizer and there's all these back costs. So you're not just paying for the milk, you're paying for the cost to produce it.
Right. And that's the other thing. If you have the if you're going to do income tax, that means that the landlord's going to be paying that income tax, which means they're going to transfer that on to the renters anyway.
But depending on their income level, though, the tenants will also be paying income tax.
Exactly.
What I don't know, I need to learn more about this, because what I don't know is, we have a lot of second homeowners, and non-residents take a really big hit on the education tax on their property that they own here in Vermont. If we shift to an income
shouldn't be
tax,
touching it.
if we shift to an income tax based program, where these people that spend 7 months a year in Florida and only 5 months a year in Vermont, they don't pay income tax here. So how are they going to contribute?
So Josh Howard asks, who is best at cheating tax codes, low income or high income? Let's ask Trump. Because he's 100% correct. I mean, people that make a lot of money know how to get around the tax system. So,
but low income people that are employed, there's really no tax code to get around, because you don't make enough to do itemized deductions, and you get the standard deduction regardless. So there's no way around. There's no loopholes for low income.
It'll definitely be interesting to see how it all plays out, but I was hoping to get that point across to people, because that's a huge misconception that, and I hear it a lot actually, but it's a huge misconception that people that live in apartments don't pay taxes. That's crazy. What Paul is saying is what is very real and what very much happens. And so then there you go. You have people that are financially well off, and they're probably going to be able to skate this if it changes. And
so I wouldn't be surprised if our state legislature did that then, because they don't ever think about the poor. They do think about their own pockets. So I'm just saying, it's like, that's the way that I see our legislature move. They don't really, they pretend to care until it's like, makes me feel good, so let's force EVs on people. Makes me feel good, let's tax rich people who are going to get out of the tax, and then the lower income and moderate income people are going to suffer miserably. And
that's a problem with any legislature, whether it's state or federal, because they don't live the consequences of their policies and decisions.
No, because they always carve out crap. But here's the real question for the two of you, and you, Sarah. So apparently the legislature is going to have a conversation, going to have to talk about whether or not they're going to fund independent schools.
Right.
Because if they fund independent schools, they have to fund religious schools.
Right.
Sarah, as the possible next school board director.
oh
Boy, that I honestly haven't even really thought about it. I don't know very much about independent private schools as far as like K-8 or K-12 education goes, but
Yeah,
I'd have to really like look into it, because I mean, I think there's such a difference between private and public schools. Public schools can't turn anybody away.
Right.
Whereas private schools can turn people away. Specifically, kids that need special education support, kids that have really significant behavior issues. They don't have to keep them in the school because there are other public schools for them to attend.
Well, I think they're thinking about discussing ending independent schools altogether, which that's not necessarily a good thing.
What do you mean?
I don't think that's a good thing
schools?
at all. And I wish that Vermont would allow charter schools, and I wish Vermont would allow magnet schools, because we've so focused on one model of education, and it doesn't work for everybody. I mean, it worked for me. I wasn't the greatest student, but I know that there are people that just don't think that same way. They learn better doing it a different way, a different learning style. There are multiple different learning styles, and to have those options for our students would only increase our our test scores and our whatever. So having those options would be a good thing.
I kind of sprung this on everybody, and we're not really fully knowledgeable on everything on
I
this.
am definitely not.
So I'll have to see if I can get somebody in here to have an actual conversation about this, what they're going to do, because it's possible that it's more than possible. If Vermont funds independent schools, we're going to have to start funding religious schools, and I don't. I don't know, and yeah, I guess we'll just move on from that. I don't know.
I think it'll force the public schools to step up their game. I mean, if money is no longer holding anybody back, there will be people that will choose to send their children to St. Monica's or whatever it's called now.
Right.
So if the public schools want to keep their enrollment up, they're going to have to compete.
Yep.
Which I think they should, honestly.
Absolutely.
Competition makes people better. It makes you work to be the best. And why wouldn't we want the best?
Well, there's definitely a lot coming down the pike surrounding education, and it's stuff that we are going to have to be watching out for, really listening to, educating ourselves on, and
we'll have to get Gina Galfetti down here, because I
Yes.
doubt that the other two will consider coming.
well, but we
So,
can invite them.
you can.
and see what
Topper would
happens.
But apparently I'm a far right podcast, so oh well,
You
whatever.
didn't warn me about that.
I'm so sorry.
I didn't know you were far
I know.
righty.
Far. I guess I'm an alt right. I don't know. No, that's not true. With that, so I'll just say what we're doing tomorrow. We have on the docket the resolution honoring retiring Representative Tommy Walls. So I love Tommy. I think he's a great guy. I never voted for him, but I still love him, and I consider him a friend. And he's done, he's served in our community for quite a while, and I think that he definitely deserves that. I'm not confident that if that was somebody else, would get that same recognition, but whatever. I'm glad that he's getting it, because he definitely deserves it. I mean, he has served in the State House for 10 years now, something like that. So big thank you to Tommy, even though you failed to get my raw milk allowed in stores. It's all good. Still a little bitter about that, but
gosh.
so we'll get a briefing on the storm, the storm response, which
was great.
it was great. It was really great. Both, I'm assuming
It was
you
great
guys-
here in Barre, but not in other parts of the country,
True,
unfortunately.
that is true.
I would say from the town standpoint, the response was great. It didn't really impact the town as far as town infrastructure a whole lot. We had some trees down, some roads closed, but nothing that drastic. However, power outages is another matter. We had a lot, both Green Mountain Power customers and particularly Washington Electric customers. At one point in the peak, I think something like 90% of Washington Electric's Barre Town customers had no power at one point.
Yeah.
And it
Having been a customer of Washington Electric, not directly, but through my parents in Barre Town, we lost anytime there was a power outage. We lost power for days.
And there were a lot of Barre Town households without power for days, 3-4 days. So, including Mr. Nelson across the street. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Washington Electric has such a rural area that they cover, so it makes sense that. I mean, I feel like Green Mountain Power did a phenomenal job at getting things back up and running. There were a lot of down trees, a lot of branches, and I think Fallsbridge Road was closed. just because of trees being down.
Their resources are much greater than that of Washington Electric
Right.
as well. The thing, they call out of state companies. They have the budget that I'm sure that Washington Electric does not have.
Right.
I
was surprised,
and that makes a difference.
considering how the storm affected the whole country. Really, I was surprised that they had as many out-of-state companies lined up to help clear trees and get power back on. Considering wherever those crews were coming from, they were needed back home as well. So they did well.
And then, of course, we're going to have the conversation about the committee reset, which is going to be very interesting. I will say, that's going to be interesting. That's because
I'm so torn because there's a school board finance committee meeting tomorrow night as well, and I don't know which one to go to.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's just going to be the, review it and get some feedback from the community. I know that
It'll be interesting.
it will be. I mean, we're condensing it down to 7 discretionary committees, and then of course we have our regular committees. The ones that we can't be discretionary about: Planning Commission, BCA, and all that stuff.
Development Review Board.
Raylene's position won't be affected. But anybody that's, and this is what I'm kind of like, I know that, so the Police Advisory Committee is not going to be affected. The Diversity and Equity Committee is not going to be affected.
In the current proposal.
In the current proposal, correct. And it'll be interesting to see how it all, shuffles out. And then of course there's the All In for Barre Housing Task Force, which we can't stuff into another committee because it's not really our committee to stuff into, but they take up a lot of resources for the city, for City Hall.
Yeah.
So how does that work for us? And we're going to have to figure that out, because there's definitely going to be some concerns with that. The Civic Center or Civic Facilities, which is adding the Civic Center Committee and the ADA Committee on there. So I know it's kind of, the ADA probably fits more with the diversity and equity. And I would think that, I don't know. I mean, there's some, and then of course, Public Infrastructure and Transportation, which is going to combine the Transportation Advisory, Energy Committee, Path, Routes and Trails, River Access Task Force. Then the Public Arts and Recreation Committee, it's going to combine the Recreation Committee, the Cemetery and Parks Committee, which I already got a call. Spoke to Giuliano Ceccanelli about that, and Community Garden Committee and Tree Stewardship Committee, which
Wow, y'all have a lot of committees.
we have. We do have a lot.
How many committees does Barre Town have?
Well, be quicker if I look it up rather than try to name them.
Oh wait, hold up.
You got our
I've
website
got
right there.
government information, roads, boards, and commissions. So we've got, for Barre Town, you've got the Select Board,
Right.
the
Which is-
Board of Civil Authority,
Which,
Traffic Safety Advisory Committee, Planning Commission, Development Review Board, Recreation Board, Cemetery Commission, Housing Advisory Committee, Budget Committee, Conflict of Interest Policy Committee.
Well, that was a one-time.
Oh,
That was a one-time.
Town Manager Screening Committee,
That was a one-time.
and Community Forest Management Plan Committee.
Right, and that's
And that's it.
those last
So
three.
11.
Those last 3 were ad hoc committees that were brought together for a specific purpose, and when that purpose was finished, the committee was done. So
I count
Where's
6
your-
that were not like.
yeah, so you really can't. Select Board obviously is required. Planning Commission and Development
DRB,
Review
those are
Board
required.
Required.
I counted 6 that actually weren't required committees, including the budget one.
Yeah, there's not very many.
You're having a hard time controlling yourself over there.
I am having a hard time. You definitely don't have all the committees that we have.
No.
Like, do you have because you don't have a ADA committee or a civic.
do not.
Well, you don't have a civic center.
We don't have a
so-
civic center. No.
Yeah, no, but you could do change the forest committee into a standard one going forward.
Well, yeah, and that has been discussed, that town forest is it's active enough. It has enough activity and enough different uses that perhaps once this management plan committee is done with its work and we have the new forest plan for the next 10 years, we may need to have a town forest committee just to manage just the forest.
You should.
Rather than putting that on the backs of the recreation
You should.
board.
You absolutely should have a permanent.
Right. And I
Forest
think
committee.
in the next year or two, you probably will see us creating an energy committee.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
that's
Yep.
been recommended by the regional planning commissions. So
Yeah. Nobody will serve on it, and then it will just sit there. Yeah, I would.
Nobody's
say
on our current energy committee in the
nobody's on
city.
current energy committee.
all of this recent
They all
interest,
resigned.
all the
Yes.
interest in solar arrays over the last few
yeah.
years has generated
Some
talk,
interest
some
up
talk
there.
about needing
Yep.
an energy committee.
Yep. And then, of course, we're going to have the lovely conversation about listing the Wheelock building, which,
Listing the Wheelock building.
yep. So the Wheelock building, for those online that may not know, that's the place where the partnership is currently being held. That's right next to the old JJ Newberry's building. It's that cute little building.
Oh, the little
that sits
building.
in the back.
That little
Yes.
looks like a little hobbit house. Or something.
Yes.
Yes.
Little Hobbit house. Yes. So anyway, we're gonna have a conversation about listing it, and I'm just.
What do you mean by listing it? You mean for sale?
for selling it?
The city owns it?
No one's gonna buy it. I mean, we would have to sell it for $1 because no one's gonna buy it.
It is a unique little
It is a unique and
structure in the middle
the
of.
concern that I have is that we would sell it and somebody would tear it down. So, and that's where I have to draw the line, because I don't trust it. There's a few select people that I would trust to have that building in possession.
So what was it? I've always wondered. I mean, it looks like, given the tower on it, I've always assumed that it was an old fire station, but
No.
what was it originally?
So it was a law office.
A lo-
Originally for law office, and then it was the home to Barry Electric. I believe it was the home to the and I'm sure somebody will correct me, but I believe it was also home to the Barry Times.
Oh,
I think it was Barry
Yep.
Times.
right.
And I might be wrong
Before
on
the
that.
Barre Times and the Montpelier Argus merged.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yeah. But yeah, it's a cute house, and I certainly have no desire to really list it.
To see it go away.
Yeah. But I guess there's people that really want to sell it, which
What would
I'm
be
sure has
what
nothing
would
to
be
do
the
with-
advantage of selling it?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I can understand the reasoning, because it is a drag on our budget, but it's something that I'm willing.
And it's in need of repair.
It does need to be repaired.
Right.
Surely there's some grant money out there for that.
Well, that's what I would hope, that there would be some grant money, and I hope that we can not sell it.
Speaking of grants, are you going to give the old hurrah for the earmarks? Because that happened
Oh,
after
yes.
council.
Right.
That's right. And for people that don't know, the earmarks from the Sanders camp, the Sanders earmarks, the ones for the Barre Auditorium, for some ADA compliance, and for some HVAC, for air conditioning, and it's awesome. And then of course the
water line
the
repair,
water line.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
which is huge.
yeah.
Through Barre Town.
Yeah. Yes. So we'll be digging up Barre Town shortly.
Yes.
No, I mean that's going to be really awesome. What a big and again, Cody is the one that really did that. And it just goes to show how important BADC is.
Right.
I mean,
To both communities.
correct. I was just going to make the comment
does-
that they just recently got somebody up at the Wilson Industrial Park, and I can't remember who it was, but the BADC worked with an organization to get them into the Wilson Industrial Park. So I mean that one venture that we do together is absolutely beneficial for our community.
Agreed.
But Cody was just instrumental in
Making sure
making
happened.
that happen,
Yep.
and he followed up on it. You know, he got some help from Jeff Bergeron and Bill Ahern and Bobby Lord, but almost all the work was done by BADC. And
So does Barre Town get any of that? The answer to that question is absolutely, because they will benefit when they bring their kids here to play basketball, to use any of the facilities. They will benefit with I would assume, the repair of the water line that is also a shared. Yes.
Yeah, the Barre City water system does serve, I can't tell you how many off the top of my head, but a lot of Barre Town
A lot of
customers.
Barre Town customers.
Not only direct bill customers, but also the town buys bulk water from the city.
And so, and if that were to break, if there were to be a problem, it would be a huge problem that would
yeah,
Catastrophic.
It would
greatly,
affect-
yeah, greatly affect both the city and town.
I have a question for you.
sure.
I noticed that there used to be a couple of different companies that had their cell phone antennas, speaking of the odd, and I noticed they've all been removed. I'm just curious. I know some moved to the top of, was it North Barre Manor?
Yeah.
But more recently, the T-Mobile towers all got removed. I'm curious, was that a big source of revenue?
It was a
for the
huge.
city?
Those were big sources of revenue,
And they're-
and they went to. Some of them went to the Barre Manor.
Yeah.
So
If it was the AT&T or Verizon, I
I
forget
think
which.
I can't remember. I don't think we have any cell towers now. Which
No, I don't think so
which
either.
I don't understand why they would want to make that move. So
Yeah, I was surprised to see that. I saw them up there working one day, taking them off. And
yeah, it's really unfortunate and really frustrating. And I know that it's affected quality of service in our community.
It really has.
Yeah. Oh, I know. My sister's house used to get perfect cell service. She doesn't get perfect cell service anymore. And it's just that one. I mean, maybe they did something else, but that's the only thing that I can think of is that one move from the Barre Auditorium to the Barre Manor.
The Odd is certainly more centrally located than the Manor, so
The what? Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I don't know why. I don't know what their reasoning was because whatever.
I mean,
it is
they
what
pay
it is.
what they're going to pay. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like you raise the rent on them periodically.
No, we didn't.
No, they tell you.
Right.
Pretty
I
much.
honestly think, and I could be totally wrong on this, but I think there are a couple churches that have cell towers in their their steeples. But that could be a myth. I don't know.
Yeah, I know with the move to 5G, they were talking about needing more but smaller cell antennas.
Yeah, they get it smaller. That's for sure.
Yeah, smaller to
'Cause-
non-existent.
Because, like I said, my sister's house does not get good internet
Yep.
through the phone. I mean, it's terrible. But, it is what it is. But, yeah, I don't have anything else. Do you guys have anything else? Sarah, do you got anything?
Well, there's a development review board meeting this Thursday at 7:00 at City Hall for the city. And we've got another event coming up for anybody that would like to come. It's Delicate Decadence. And it's a Meet the Candidates event for some candidates that are running for both city council and for school board. It's January 14th, Saturday at 4:00. Admission is by donation, and we would love to see as many people as we can to come out and meet the candidates.
Absolutely. And I'm actually going to drop the link. I'm going to try to drop the link to that in the chat. So folks can certainly go there. And yes, there will be snacks. We've got Delicate Decadence will be doing some snacks.
Light refreshments.
Come and of course I'm going to be there. So I'm
me too.
running as a candidate. It's going to be myself, Sarah Hellman. Both of us are running for school board. Rosemary Averill will be there. She's running for Ward 2. Tina Ruthier, she's running for Ward 3. Tim Bolton is running for Ward 1. And then you've got Paul Malone and Alice Farrell who are running for Barre Town School Board. So for the BUUSD, I hope that folks come out. Certainly, come and meet us, and then of course vote for us. And of course open your pocket and give us money so that we can buy flyers to send to people.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Postage is expensive.
It is very expensive to run a campaign. It used to not be, though. I mean, there was a time where, it didn't cost anything. I mean, the first time I ran, the expense that I had was signs, and and that's because I went down to, I didn't go to Jeff. I didn't go to Jeff.
The local guy.
I mean, I think I paid like $20 per sign.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was insane. I mean, and part of it was because there was the issue was I couldn't get them in time. I needed them like ASAP, and I couldn't get them that quickly. They had to laminate paper, and then I had to put it over, and then I had to tape them to the side. It was really bad. I didn't know Jeff then. I mean, had I known Jeff then, I would have gotten it, and it would have been printed within 24 hours.
Right.
And delivered to your door.
And delivered to my door. But yeah, it was. And that was, I think that was a little under $500, and that's all I did. And then the next election that I had to send flyers out, I think I spent maybe $200-300, and that was with Jeff. But still, it's it's not. I've never. And then like in the last couple years, like $5,000 for a city council campaign. It just seems insane. I can't even imagine, like, if I was running then, I wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, the first time in, there's just no way. It's so much money.
And what's the stipend?
Oh,
that you
I
receive?
make a crap ton of money annually for city council. I make $1,000, which like 1/3 of it is taken away by the state,
Right.
state of Vermont and United States. And
So I mean,
essentially,
it's a volunteer position.
Absolutely,
and people are spending people on their behalf are spending that amount of money to get a volunteer position. It's crazy.
I saw a campaign finance report. It was like $5,000,
Right.
5-7. I want to say I saw one for $7.
For city council.
Yeah, I mean it's just
well, yeah,
insane.
and it goes up when you have an opponent. When it's not a uncontested race, you've got to put the money into signs and mailers and all of it.
And I agree, Josh. It leaves potential candidates list limited to the privileged in our community. So that means your average individual can't get a position on city council because it's so expensive.
Right.
Well, there's fundraising
unless they raise money, right?
Or if
I
you
mean,
make a
I
deal with the
certainly
devil and
have.
Unless you make a deal with the devil and
accept money from outside organizations.
yeah,
Right.
which I don't know. you can.
I think
send
where
me
there's a will,
money
there's a way. And
at Bootin' for Barry on Venmo.
mine's a PayPal or a donor box.
But anyway, so
And with that,
thank you, Sarah, for coming, and thank you, Paul and Raylene.
Certainly.
And
Thank
for
you.
those that are watching, we want to say thank you for watching, and want to wish everyone a happy New Year.
Happy New Year. for
If
sure.
you, try not to fail on the New Year's Eve. Well, you know what? That makes me wonder. Did you guys do any resolutions?
nope.
No.
Then I don't have to
I
disappoint
just,
myself or
I'm at the
anyone
point
else.
where making a resolution that is going to just be broken, weeks or months down the road is just pointless.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I have goals in my life that I work towards, but I'm not going to make a silly resolution just for the heck of it.
Neither did I. I went to sleep too.
I was actually up. I stayed up
I stayed
until
up.
midnight. I don't really know why. I just said Happy New Year and went to bed.
Right. All right. Well, once again, thank you guys for watching the Barre Beat podcast live from ASB Financial Studios and Fly on the Wall Productions. Have a great evening and Happy New Year.
Happy
Night, and
New
I'll see you in the
Year.
morning.